Our problem has been for the past couple months even, we've had this strange popping noise. We can't seem to get rid of it, and it's really frustrating because on Sundays it's this loud, jarring pop, and it kind of scares the congregation. So what we're trying to do is pinpoint the source of that popping noise. And I think we got it figured out. So keep watching and I'll walk you through it. So the first thing we're going to want to do, of course, is before we turn our amps on or any of the Hue Phillips outlets or any of the other on-stage equipment, we are going to turn on the soundboard and let that power up. The goal is that, right now we're just going to have the soundboard powered on and leave the wireless microphone receivers off. By the way, if you're new to the channel, I'm William Punt. This is Revision Media, and if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, like, and possibly share this video with somebody that could find it useful. So I've had this soundboard on for quite some time now. I've got it on. Nothing is on up on the stage. I'll go show you that. Nothing is on up on the stage. Actually, this, hold on one second. I'm getting just a little bouncy. I think this will help a little bit with the video and just make it a little more stable for you. Much better. This is a good tripod. I'll link it below, but when you're walking around, a gimbal is always better. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna show you that nothing is on up on the stage. None of our receivers, our microphones are off. Some of them I'll probably have to change batteries on, but here you go. These are all off. And so I will show you guys what some of our problem is, since this hasn't popped the entire time we've had this on. The soundboard is on, the SQ6, it's on, and our receivers are off. So if any of you are having the same problem, which I know on Alan and Heath's forums and on comments on this video, my last video that I posted, there are quite a few people that are experiencing this same problem and not getting very far with it. So I've talked a lot with Alan and Heath. Unfortunately, they didn't recommend anything else other than the fact that it wasn't a problem with their soundboard. And they told me that I should explore other options, basically. I should look into other potential problems and that it wasn't their board causing the problem. So I started looking into a little more detail on things and contacting a couple people that I knew, and I've gotten some really good feedback and some really good help. So I'm going to share that with you today, so stay tuned. Now, I don't know if this problem is going to be the same problem for everyone, but I do know that it is a major problem for us, and that is this loud popping. You can see we have let me focus in on that, version 1.5.4. So we have the latest firmware, and since we can see we have the latest firmware, our receivers are off and we're not getting the popping noise. The microphones have to be the problem. So how are they the problem? That's the biggest question that I had, was how are they a problem when we've had these the entire time? And then it wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 months ago that we started experiencing this popping noise. So I did a little more research and I found out that it all has to do with the banks and channels that we are on. The banks and channels at the Sennheiser, I think they're the EW 100s. We have an old model that's a G2 microphone, generation 2. We have 4 generation 3s, and then, or I'm sorry, 5 generation 3s and 1 generation 4. Now the generations don't matter so much, but I'll put a link down below, and if you go to either Shure or Sennheiser's website, they have a frequency finder that you just punch in your zip code and it will let you know what frequencies you're supposed to operate on. Now, back in 2017, for those of you that don't know, you might be aware of this, back in 2017, the FCC auctioned off a bunch of frequencies to mostly T-Mobile and other places, but mostly T-Mobile, and it was 616 to 668 megahertz. Technically, as of July of 2020, became illegal to operate in. You aren't supposed to operate within those frequencies for your microphones. Those are considered B-band receivers, B-band receivers. So we actually have 5 B-band receivers that are operating in the 600 megahertz range. The other 2 are in the 500s, which are what we're supposed to be in our area, and I think for most of the United States. I could be wrong on that, I'm not 100% sure, but most of the United States shouldn't be operating in the 600 or above. So what does that mean? Well, I was told by a very reputable sound company here in town that literally means too bad for us and we need to get new microphones. So we have 5 microphones. We have the Sennheiser EW 100s, and the Generation 4 is the newest one, and those are about $800 or $900 a pop. So multiply that by 5, that's expensive. Can we fix something or modify something until we can get the money together for those microphones, for those new microphones? If you guys have some experiences with that and also noticed what's called radio frequency interference, or RFI, if you've noticed some of that in your setup, and if it was causing a same popping sound, please let me know in the comments, because I would really like to know what you guys are experiencing with this type of issue as well. Okay, so how do we fix it? How does it get fixed? Ultimately, you buy new microphones. Until then, we need to try and minimize the popping for Sundays, for our worship services, and while our pastor is speaking. So how can we do that? Well, for starters, you need to make sure that all of your receivers are on the same bank. Now, it won't matter if you have A-band receivers and B-band receivers, because you're operating in different frequency ranges, but if any ones that are in your A-band ranges, those need to be in the same bank. Any receivers that you have that are in the B-band ranges, those need to be in the same bank. All the banks need to be same, and your channels are different. So let me show you what I mean by that. So you can see everything's on. Let me get a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. See how we're operating here on this one? It's 558 megahertz. That's good, that's correct. This is an A-band receiver. This one and others, 627, 628.1, those are B-band receivers. And you can see the microphones are off and we're getting noise. We're getting radio frequency and audio frequency, and it's getting muted every now and again. What that is, that tells me squelch is probably really high. So there's a couple settings that we need to adjust here, and I'll get into those right now. But basically, if your microphones are off and you're getting radio frequency and audio frequency coming through the microphone, then you've got noise on that channel. And that's not good. That can cause interference and cause more than just popping sounds. You can get static radio stations. There's all kinds of different interference that you can get. But even up here, you see a little bit, right? So we want to get a clean channel. And let me show you how we do that. So you want to go into Set, scroll down to Easy Setup, Current List. And right now we're on Bank 1, and there are 12 free channels. Okay, Bank 1, free 12 channels, meaning there are 12 channels that are available for us to use. So we are clean on this channel, right? RF and AF, we're clean on that channel. So what I need to see is right now we're using Bank 1, Channel 1. See, Bank, Channel, Bank, Channel. That's the way you read that. So we're on Bank 1, Channel 1, 518.2 megahertz, and it's clean. Okay, so now what we need to do is go to the other, man, this one is going crazy. Go to the other A-band receiver and put it on bank 1, but on a different channel with no noise, which is this one here. This is on, let's go into easy setup. Whoops, that's not a good thing either. Let's back out of that. I'll talk about squelch in a little bit too. But we're gonna go back over to easy setup, current list. See, this one's on bank 7, not good. Let's go to bank 1. Bank 1. Now this is on, remember this one was bank 1, channel 1. This one, bank 1. Let's try channel 2. They can't be on the same channels, but they need to be on the same banks. So this is bank 1, channel 2. And again, it's clean. You've got no radio frequency, no audio frequency. Your mics are off, so that's the way that it should be. So let's do that. We're gonna go ahead and set that receiver to that. So the things that we need to consider though are we're changing settings on the receivers. Now our microphones are over there, and how do we change the settings on the microphones, right? Well, there's a sync option that I'm going to show you on these receivers. If you're not familiar with this, there's a sync option. Now when you hit sync on the receiver, you need to hit, or you need to take the RF, let me just grab it. You want to have your microphone on, okay? Your microphone's on, your IR sensor there, hit sync and hold your IR sensor up to the other one on that, and you will see a little check mark next to it, just like that, and it's letting you know that now we are at 518.7, 518.7. So that syncs your microphones after you make your adjustments on the receivers. So now the goal is to get the rest of the microphones off the stage over here and go through these same steps on all the microphones. You want to make sure you have enough channels that are free to add all of your microphones under the same bank, and make sure that the channels that you're adding your microphones to don't have any radio frequencies or audio frequencies on there, to make sure that the channels are clear and clean. For example, this one here, ton of noise, and that's got some noise as well. Then we'll go into the next two steps, next two things that we need to look for after we go through this process. Okay, well, I need to continue with those, but I've got this one cleaned up now. This one has been cleaned up. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through and making sure that these are all on the same bank, different channels, and then I'm syncing the microphones to the receivers to make sure that they are going to communicate. And one way you can tell that they're going to communicate is, turn that one on. Is that pause? Yes. So that's on, right? Now that it's on, you'll see radio frequency. Your RF will go all the way up because it's communicating with your microphone. But as soon as I turn it off, you'll see that drop down and mute, okay? So that's normal. That's what you need to do with all of them. Okay, so the next thing we want to check on these is we want to check our squelch. Squelch, you can see these little dots right here. That basically means if the radio frequency drops below these dots, then it will automatically mute the mic. So you can see if I change the squelch to high, see it raises and lowers those dots up there. We like to keep those at low. We need to keep those at low. That can also cause some kind of interference if for some reason your volume drops out. It will mute and unmute the microphone, and could cause some problems. So we're just gonna go ahead and set all of these to low on our squelch. And then we wanna go to where it says pilot, which I believe is an advanced pilot tone. You wanna make sure that's set to active. Okay, so I've got all the microphones changed. Everything is set accordingly. Actually, this one right here, I just realized wasn't. I don't even know where this microphone is. So maybe it's a wireless lapel somewhere, but I need to look for it. It might be the lapel mic, but I thought that was a sure. So that's the next thing I gotta check are the lapel mics. I believe we only have 2. So I will check that out. Once we get that all dialed in, now it's just a waiting game. Now I sit around and wait. I wanna see if I hear the popping. Maybe I'll play some music or something. I might even cycle the system off and then back on, just to kind of see if I can maybe reactivate that popping noise. Thanks for watching this far. I hope that this video helps you guys out and helps identify some of the problems you might be having with RFI or radio frequency interference. I truly appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. One of the other things to note is that we had a new T-Mobile 5G tower within a mile of this building get installed and activated. So that's also going to play a factor or have a major effect on what we're doing here today. The biggest reason is because I went through and changed all these frequencies and made sure that they were clean coming in, but we're still operating within that 600 megahertz frequency range, which is still dedicated to 5G mobile towers. So if we get a bunch of people in here on Sunday that might have T-Mobile and it's causing some radio frequency interference between here and the phone tower, well, the phone tower is a lot more powerful than our microphones are and our receivers are. So there's definitely going to be some sort of RFI. I've been in here about 3 hours now, and I have not heard any popping noises. I made sure all those channels were clean. So right now, everything sounds great, and I'm hoping that it stays that way for Sunday. Again, if you like this video, if you found this video to be valuable, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new videos like this are put out. Thank you again.